Hello, and welcome to AleksConnects Creative Sandbox. My name is Alex, and let's continue our Fanart project Angry Birds vs Transformers. So while Krita is launching, which is basically is happening right now, yeah, today's session is probably going to be pretty strange again, because what is this? Who is created this one? Definitely not me, don't remember. Yeah, so today's session is planned is one like 90 minutes session. Let's hope that we actually will stick to this promise. Sorry about that. Okay, let's just figure out where this was created. Okay, that was created on the color layer. Means that we need to delete it. Okay, so previously, for the most part, we kind of worked with color. We established color for the walls, for the transformers. Again, I decided to go with like pretty close to the earth tones, but at the same time kept them green earth tones, not the. So basically, they are going to be a little bit cooler, and although in comparison to this one, they will feel warmer, because. Yeah. It's not probably, I don't know, super final. So the thing that I definitely need to change is this one. I think you might already noticed that this thing is just basically doesn't work for this table. It just creates a distraction. We don't need to bring attention to this part, and by having this color in here, and because this color is kind of more vivid than the previous colors that we had in our background, it just don't work. Doesn't work properly. In order to make it work, I think I definitely need to choose something analogous for this one. I don't want to go complementary. I'll just go with something analogous, but at the same time it's still going to be cold. I'm going to make analogous. It's going to be closer to the Quintessa. Again, Quintessa actually going to have purplish color, and we need to go more in here to actually represent this analogous separation from this one to this one and to this one, because like this. And of course this needs to be more lighter. So for the most part, previous session was problematic because I worked on trying to figure out how to work from what value to color in the proper way. And like in the end, I actually decided to go with just creating a layer with color mode, with blending mode, with color blending mode, which was basically the same that I wanted to achieve, but I kind of wanted to actually find a way to make it manually without this automatic algorithms in blending modes. I definitely will, as I said before, explore this in the future, but for now we're just going to use color because I already spent a lot of time on this work, and I kind of want to create different illustrations from now on. Like, this is my first probably of this caliber, and starting from next illustrations, I'm either going to draw and paint WWE fan art, or going to mix in between WWE fan art and something of my own. So I will decide what's going to be. So if I'm going to create something on my own, it's definitely going to be, for now, character design, because right now I need to actually like find a balance between quantity and quality work, because of course, and by doing this, like, just gain experience. So for now I'm actually lacking experience, and the only way to get experience is to create a lot of work. And since I said before, when we actually compared a practical way of thinking and theoretical way of thinking, if you're going to work towards a theory and not going to work with practice, you're going to stay for the most part in one place. You're still going to like put in your mind a lot of useful information about art, but until you are going to get and actually try this in your practice, you're going to some type of feel stagnant a little bit. For the practice, it's the opposite. By putting your all your attention into practice only, without thinking about theory, and that way you will probably create a lot of useless work that is not going to have that much of quality to it. So and I actually want to find a way to create something like in between. So I want to create quality work, but at the same time make it fast. And the only way to do this is to produce more work and try to make compromises in quality. That could work. But of course, at the beginning, it's not going to be the case, because the more experience you will get, the more confident you will be in your practical stuff and theoretical stuff, because they are going to mesh up together, and it creates like the perfect cohesion of this, and you will work faster, of course, and you will still maintain quality. But until then, I just want to try to do that. So starting from next, after this project, I definitely going to aim more on the quantity side, but still trying to maintain quality. So probably next illustrations are going to be sometimes bad, sometimes good. But I will try to do my best either way. Okay, so basically, I instead of searching these scenes, I'm just used a color layer instead of trying to understand how to make it manually. I tried for the most session actually to figure out how to work it manually by trying to come up with some type of algorithm to how to go from a specific black and white values and go into use these base values to actually add saturation and change in lightness, and by maintaining the same value, create a color that we need. But for now, the only thing that kind of works is this color blending mode. It's perfectly works because it preserves the value of 25 if we want to make it color, create this particular color. Then we're basically choosing a color in our palette, and then painting color and it's just works with color. Okay, so for now things kind of work. Yeah, let's just change this, what I wanted to do at the beginning. So let's just find a layer that's going to be appropriate for it. Don't remember what layer actually appropriate for it. This one. Also, I don't know if I actually need to keep it the same value. I think maybe yeah, it's too dark. We definitely need to go a little bit lighter. So this one is pretty light, so let's just go with 60. But we need to make sure that it's not going to be closer to our character. So actually this one is 60. Means that we need to put it to 50. Let's try. The same is going to be here. In terms of the value, it makes a little bit slower transition, because if we're going to make this one dark, it's going to mesh up with the everything under the table. We don't want that. We actually need to make sure that these two are going to relate to each other. So this one and this one, not the other way around. What? Oh yeah, because it's on top. So yeah, in terms of the value it works fine, but now let's just figure out the color for it. So now just add the color. Of course coral color is going to be added on a different layer, because we can't put this layer into a color mode because it's already used as a color. Good. What's next? So, and then we just need to create another layer, put it into the color mode, and kind of figured out the way to, again, we're working with this slider. It's like, I don't know, we can't control these sliders to make it work, so I guess we need to work with this triangle thing, because as you see, sliders are going through like change from 0 to 100 in saturation and only from 50 to 100 in value, and this is actually makes this a little bit harder to control. The reason being is because for the most part values are preserved, and if we are going to go in here or in here, it's not going to affect color blending mode, because again it preserves the value slider, and everything that goes in this diagonal, it's not going to work. Only this is important. So I'm kind of working with this thing. Okay, let's just try to, again, I plan to choose something in between Quintessa, so that means something in here, and the tablecloth itself, and yeah. So hue stays the same, the only thing that I'm going to change is the color information. Okay, so of course it needs to be muted enough, so let's just try with this one. Actually, it's barely visible. Thing is though, this is the place that I actually can make things a little bit more vivid. But if I will, it's going to attract attention to this, and it's not something that we need. We don't need distraction from our main characters. That's why this thing needs to be muted. Okay, let's save for now. Would be a good idea. And the same goes for this one. Again, the reason why I want a little bit darker values in here, because for the most part, almost every table accessories, they are pretty close to the value of the table. They're not going to be that visible. Since they are our secondary focus, they need to have a little bit more contrast and attention put into them. So that's why creating this dark value, it actually makes things visible even from far. It's enough to actually bring attention to the table, and then the eye of the viewer is just going to follow automatically. It's just going to follow either here, then there, whatever. So here, here. I still think that I need to place this one a little bit lower, probably. But at the same time, it will create the equal division right here and here, which I don't want. The fact that we have more empty space in here and less empty space in here actually kind of works. Creates pretty interesting negative spaces that doesn't seem boring. But if I will place this one in here, it's going to be boring, because negative space in here is going to be pretty similar to what we have in here. So don't think that would be a good idea. Although we kind of have a little bit of similarity in negative spaces in here and here. They kind of seem a little bit the same, which kind of makes things a little bit boring. That means that either we need to move it closer or further. Let's just try to place it a little bit further. Since this is the information in our sketch, let's just find a layer that consists this information, or let's just use this super function that awesome. Select this one and move it slightly into the back. Oh, actually, if we're going to move it slightly into the back, it will actually overlap the bomb, which is kind of cool though. The fact that it's going to create overlap for the bomb, it's even, again, if you have the opportunity to create a overlap without a tangent, it's always a good thing. It will accentuate the form, it will show depth, so it's awesome. Yeah, I guess it's actually a good thing to put in here. Let's try it. Of course, that means that we need to change our value placements to, let's just move them. Oh, actually, we kinda need to make it super neat. Okay, let's just turn off sketching and choose this one properly. Turn on sketching again and move it closer to our what? Probably this one. Yeah. Turned off sketching and paint over the things that stay there. So yeah, to avoid tangent in here, we definitely need to think about placing this cup a little bit lower or higher to actually create this slight silhouette. Now, table seems too empty. And again, we could use empty spaces to our advantage, but we need to understand what effect they're going to provide to us. So we can't just blindly accept these empty spaces. We need to understand what they're doing, why they're empty, compositionally and design wise. Okay, where are our values? Okay, this is actually pretty cool. The fact that it's pretty close to bomb and actually it creates the thing that we need, I think it's even better. Let's delete this information in here to make it even more vivid. Good. So I think, yeah, I definitely need to put something in here. It's like screaming we need to put something. I could like just test and figure out what we could put in here. By the way, we definitely need a chalk actually somewhere in here. In here and that needs to be further. And it needs to be different. Yeah, I think it's proper place. Again, right now I don't have enough details to actually understand the placement of it and showcase the proper depth. We'll probably need to experiment on our final designs where to actually place it, how far from the Chuck, or how actually Chuck is going to spill his tea, where he's going to spill his tea on the tablecloth or right in the I don't know, forget how it's called. Bowl? Nope. A bowl, yeah. Of course, it's not going to be good. Yeah, hi there, Scoff-san. Yeah, they're finally in color. Ta-da. Let's save. How are you doing? Yeah, like probably hour ago. Yeah, I saw raw. You know something about raw? Yeah, that was pretty cool, raw. Reading is cool too. It kind of saves a lot of time. Rather than see 2.5 hours of the show, you could read it in 10-15 minutes, I guess, depending on how long the posts are. Okay, what to do next though? Like, okay, I placed a teapot a little bit further. It created the silhouette in here. Yeah, of course it's quicker than seeing the show, which is cool. That's kind of it. Let's just put a suggestion for this plate. Again, I will explore how actually Chuck will spill his tea, where he's going to spill it, and how it's going to look. Again, we don't have enough information in here because there's a lot of pixels in here, and whatever we are going to put here, it's just going to be a suggestion. It's not going to be anything concrete, so that's definitely not going to do this now. Again, we still need to solve a problem with the overlap in here. This is something to address, because we need to get rid of the tangent. We can't allow ourselves tangents. Okay, for the most part, base colors are fine. I think I kind of like how it works. Again, I don't need too much attention in these areas. By the way, let's just find our layer with. Yeah, in terms of warms and cools, we're definitely going to explore it when we're going to figure out the colors for lights, because again, lighting conditions that will completely change the look of this one. So this is just the base color. After we actually put lights in here, it completely will change the whole game. So again, light source on the top, fire, 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 fire. 4 additional light sources, they're going to affect our character's main or primary light source in here, secondary light source in here, and slight additional light sources in the Transformers' eyes. Okay, I kind of want to find. Let's just find our compositional layer. what it is. Value test, compositional flow probably. But the problem is, and we're not going to see them, they are too, and we need to put them on top. Let's just move them on top until we're going to see them. We need to be careful to not put them in this group, above this group. Yeah. So this is our compositional flow. Put it even on top. So in terms of the areas, we still maintained everything that we set out to do. So we have our primary focus, which is in here, in transformers. We have secondary focus, which is the table. It's actually a little bit shifted. So this blue area, actually our secondary focus, it's a little bit shifted, but it's not a problem. Maybe if I will move it slightly. It doesn't matter, let's just keep it the same way. It's always a good thing to see where we started and where we actually end up. That way we could analyze what things we did better. So let's just make it a little bit higher. So yeah, but basically we have like our main focus area, which is the red cross hatching, our secondary focus area, which is the blue cross hatching, and our tertiary focus area, which is the yellow cross hatching. And for the most part we kind of maintained everything that we wanted to. These areas, they're not important, so this is like just additional thing. We're not going to detail them that much. Also, this information will, as I said before, provide us with the solutions how to work with rendering. So these areas we're going to render the most, these areas we're going to render less, a little bit less. These areas are going to be rendered even worse, and these areas are not going to be rendered at all. They're just going to be a suggestions of form. I'm not going to put that much time to render these, but this is just like the render fall off. So the important areas are going to be rendered, not important areas are going to be suggested. Okay, so areas kind of work, and when it comes down to compositional flow, it's a little bit messy, but for the most part I'm kind of maintained how the viewer's eye would travel, and it kind of still works. I'll just make a quick thing. So again, the fact that Bomb is actually looking at Chuck is looking at his teapot, but I still need to create some type of transition in here. To the bubbles. So that means that I definitely need to put something in here. Direct it like this. I don't know what though. Perhaps we need to actually see a little bit more references what actually placed in, usually in tea parties. So let's just open Pinterest and see this. Come on, Pinterest, load. So yeah, let's just see what we could place in there. Because I don't want to make too many accessories, I don't want to create too many accessories for the table, but I still want to to make it a little bit, I don't know, not empty as much as it is now. So definitely not going to be some type of decorative element. I don't think that Angry Birds are into the decoration. They're not that type of characters. So yeah, nothing decorative is definitely... It needs to be something that needs to be on the table. So we already put something like this. So like... How this thing called? I don't know. There's a lot of names for it. So yeah, we put something closer to this one, which is a good thing, and it's definitely going to be present in our illustration. I still need to design it properly again. Right now we don't have enough details to actually do this, or pixel information to do this. It's definitely going to be something that we need to think about on our final line art stage, when we're actually going to enlarge this piece into a full resolution and going to work on creating final line art before rendering. Yeah, so that's that. Teapot is present, which is good. The under protection from whatever it is, like for teapot, is here. The bowls is here. Bowl. Yeah, they are here. The teacups are present too. By the way, I need to actually make teapot visible in here in color. Oh, wait a sec. Okay, colors, and I'll just showcase that he's holding a teapot and actually drinking from it. This is important information. What else? Yeah, still something needs to be here. I could place... Most of the sweets are actually going to be placed right here. And since this is relatively simple tea party, I don't want to overload it with too much information. But we still need to put something there, just compositionally, to create a good transition from chalk to bubbles. Okay, there's only transformers there. Forks and knives, I don't know, they are unnecessary there. This is a simple tea party that you will use your hands or wings to actually eat the sweets, so I don't think that we need to put there something like spoons and whatever. It needs to be simple. Like for instance right here we don't have anything except sweets that usually people eat with their hands. I don't know what is this though. It's water? Yeah, it's water with straw. We definitely can't create another one. One is enough. Hey, wait a minute. There was something here. Maybe we could try. Since I'm not sure what type of sweets are going to be present at this thing, I actually could create a bowl with fruits in this place. So for instance right here is going to represent only sweets, like, I don't know, cookies and lots of like pancakes and whatever, all these fancy sweets. And right here I actually could create a bowl of fruits, which kind of works. Let's try to explore it. Bowl of fruits. Oh no, I actually draw this thing and I don't remember where. It actually was drawn on our compositional flow. Yeah, but again, in terms of a compositional flow, everything works fine. Again, this thing going to direct attention to here, this one in here, this one in here, everything as it planned in the beginning. Right here, and here, and here, this one. This one is going to look at him. So yeah, everything kind of works fine, but now there's a missing link in here. Definitely need to put something to create this transition. Let's do that. So the bowl with fruits. Now the problem is where to place it to make things work. It's definitely not going to be here. Or no, I don't know. Ideally, I would want them to overlap again. If you have the opportunity to create an overlap, you will do that. It's always a good thing. It will showcase the depth. But compositionally, I think I need to go with something like this. And place sweets a little bit closer, further from Chuck. Probably closer to the Bubbles' cup, because this cup is for the most part not going to be that visible, and we need something to attract attention to actually for the viewers to see that there's a cup in here and that Bubbles actually reaching this cup, because for the most part Bubbles is actually covering this cup and we're not necessarily going to see it, and there's a bad contrast in here which will not allow us to see it properly. By placing this bowl with fruits closer to this cup, we actually will make sure that since when viewer will pay attention to this one, he or she will definitely notice our cup in here. Cup in here. Yeah, bowl with fruits is definitely here. Just make it properly. Again, we're going to design what exactly is going to be in this bowl when we're going to have enough information. Right now it's putting these things is more than enough. Okay, good. Now actually we have this flow. And oh, awesome. Actually this flow creates what I talked about before, how to properly work with dynamic. Or not dynamic. Yeah, probably with dynamic. So if right here actually was the empty space, if this would be, if right here would be empty space, dynamic would be super fast. and we would probably not see anything in the table. We would not pay attention to whatever is on the table. But by placing a lot of things in here, that way dynamics is slower and transition is slower, because there's the details here that viewer will pay attention to. So that way we will make sure that viewer will see and actually understand what this is all about. If viewer is not going to right away pick up that this is a tea party, by creating this slow transition, eventually it will be more obvious to the viewer that this is a tea party, because everything for the tea party is already present. The of course, teacups with the plates, teacups with the plates, teapot on the protective thing, I don't know how to call it properly in English, the stand with sweets in it, and of course the fruits. That's kind of it. And by the way, by creating this one, we actually will make sure that we will separate these two from each other. So sweets are here and fruits are here, because before that I kind of wanted to create different, for instance, right here I wanted to create some type of sweets. Right here I would create a fruits, and it peeled fruits and whatever. But it wouldn't work probably. By separating them, that way we will make sure that this thing is going to be sweets only and this thing is going to be fruits only. Kind of makes this pretty good contrast in between. It's not going to overload this with too many information, because we need for the viewer's eye to, for a second, stop here and see what's in here, but we don't want to distract the movement to the bomb. And if we're going to put too many information in here, too many different information like fruits, sweets, fish, meat, I don't know, whatever, it's going to distract viewer, because what the heck, what everything is doing here, it's stupid, like, no. But if right here is going to be only sweets, it's like it creates, I don't know, the cohesion of things. So you're not going to pay that much attention. He's going to, or he or she is going to see that, okay, sweets are here, and just move on to the next subject of our focus. That's why this separation is actually super awesome, and it works. And still, when it comes to the division of empty spaces, we make sure that they're not boring. So negative spaces are still different, which is cool. Okay, and let's just make this, put the sketch into color by creating a color for the bold and for the things in here. In terms of a sweet, or these things are definitely going to be either oranges or apples. This is actually a good contrast for, and good repetitive usage of a color. And probably one lemon in here. So 1 lemon, 2 oranges and 2 apples. Of course, when we're going to work with the real thing, I will place something better in there. And the bold itself, of course, it's going to be probably the same value. It's pretty light. Make it pretty light. If I make it light, it will make this fruits more visible. If I will make this bowl darker value, the only way to bring attention to this will be by colors. No, it doesn't look good. By the way, don't want to forget that we're actually going to create a couple of shadows in here. So shadows will actually create even more interesting negative spaces. So good. Part of me wants to bring this teapot closer, like somewhere in here, to actually create this transition. Maybe this is something that I will think about later, but for now let's just keep it like this. Okay, good. Of course we need to put this one into color too. And actually, let's make this thing a little bit lighter. So this one 50, let's make this one 60. I don't like that this is too dark. It needs to be a little bit more subtle. Okay, this is more subtle. Yeah, this is more subtle. The cool thing is, it kind of works in black and white too. We still can properly separate things from one another. Just get rid of our compositional flow and sketch. Again, the things that they are not that visible, we will separate by in rendering, by creating occlusions under the bowls and under the cups, and everything is going to be still clearly visible because of these occlusions. We're going to create, of course, separation in here. So it's all going to be in rendering. When we're going to work from light, from line to where, oh snap, where are my colors? I need my colors. Turned off sketch, turned off our compositional flow. And right now, actually, the illustration looks like not moody at all. But I planned it specifically to bring mood to it. So right now, the only way to control mood is just by contrasts, and I did everything in my power to make sure that all contrasts are going to be separate in a particular areas that we need them to be separate, and they're going to be slightly similar in the areas that they need to be similar. So at this point, I've done everything that I could, like considering the, yeah. Okay, Good, good, good. What else? So right now I just need to think what's going to be next. We can have probably half an hour. Let's just make sure that we will know what to do next. Previously I said that after this stage, after I will actually make sure in colors, I will dive into lighting. Trying to plan what the, I don't know, the come on, brain dead. Give me a sec. I need to find a way to present it properly. So the thing that I need to do now is to go from, like, actually implement lighting suggestions, or bring a little bit of plan in lighting conditions, how these lights are going to work. And after this, or after I'm going to plan these, how these lighting conditions are going to affect our local colors, where the shadows are going to be placed, where the separation of the local colors and lights are going to be. All these things I think need to be planned at this point. So basically we're going to do pretty much the same as we did in here. It's going to be considered, but a little bit more simpler. To just basically, it's like a test render to see how things are going to work in the small scale, which will definitely take us a couple of hours, which is less than work 15-24 hours on actual rendering, and then decide that it's not going to work and re-render the whole thing. So I will rather spend 2 hours to actually render existing things than the opposite. And the cool thing is, the only thing that we need to render is the values. So we don't need to work with actual colors at this point, because I'm going to think about actual reflections a little bit later. Although it would be a good idea to actually think about them now. I don't know, I need to think about this. And since for the most part, the way lights are going to interact with specific subjects is going to be completely controlled by the type of material that these subjects are made for. It means that I probably need to work first on materials and then actually test lighting. It's just going to be a little bit more logical way to do that. Okay, let's just then plan materials. Again, this is the first time that I'm actually implementing these theories into work, so that's why it could be a little bit shaky. Not a little bit, but a lot of shakiness here and there in terms of but still in the end I understand what I'm doing, so I'm not just rambling with no sense. If I'm not making sense, it's just because it's pretty hard for me to put this and actually explain this. This is the reason why I'm actually streaming, to learn how to do this properly, in order to provide better explanations in the future. But again, you need to start somewhere, and for me this is a start that will allow me to test all things that I'm not good at. Okay. Let's see. Materials. So I think before we'll go into the materials, let's just make sure that we actually did everything that we had to do, or set out to do. So the only place that I didn't create a color for is these areas, and the same areas in the floor. They don't have a color, they're just simply gray. Swords don't have color, and these things don't have color either. So that means that I need to think about actually adding color to them. And the cool thing is that not everything has to have color, but the thing is, if something actually has color in your scene, for the most part, is going to affect things that don't have color in them. So that means that these things are definitely going to have some type of color. They're not just going to be colorless. Okay, actually, let's just choose the same color and color this part with the same color. Maybe it's going to work pretty cool. Color is not present in here for some reason. Tell me why. Again, it doesn't change in color. Color stays the same. What's under colors? Yeah. Just try to create a new layer for it because for some reason, whoa, not new project. Come on, what the heck was that? New layer. By the way, I think we need to change value for the table things. We need to make it a little bit lighter. It's too dark. I don't like how dark it is. It needs to be slightly lighter than everything else because I want to, well, like for table legs actually to be visible. The only problem is it's pretty close to 25, 15, Let's go with 20. Try 20. It's going to be pretty close to the but that way they are going to be visible at least. Good. Bring things back. Okay, this layer was created. I actually need to name them. Let's name layers. How? What these layers are doing. Isolate. What is... Oh, okay, this is actually the layer for tablecloth border. I don't know if it's right spelling. Okay, how about this one? What is this? What? Okay, this is an empty layer. For some reason it's empty. Delete empty layer. Oh no. Oh no, because I'm in isolation mode and I press delete layer, it's not going to be a good thing. Yep. Krita stopped working. Good thing that we saved before. So yeah, don't delete layers in isolation mode. Actually, right away after I actually press it, I already knew that something wrong will happen, because when you're trying to like actually think how these algorithms work, so if a layer is isolated, it's kind of activated a particular algorithm, and if you're going to delete this layer that already been activated, there needs to be a lot of algorithms to it to turn off and actually choose one of the layers to, I don't know, to turn off this thing. So I think in order to do this, needs to have a lot of things into it. So floor, ceiling. Let's isolate this one and turn off our showing assistant and painting assistant tools. Call it TC border, and the only thing that I didn't change is the value for legs of the table, so let's just change this. I end up with 20 probably, because I remember properly, it was 20. Just paint them without color. Value only. It's probably not going to work for the orange though. No, they're actually pretty separate. Everything works with the contrast. So this was probably a empty layer that I actually deleted. Yep. This is empty layer. Save. Call it what I wanted though. Swords and borders. Yeah, color for the borders. Let's just call it lines. I don't know. in color mode. Actually, oh, this is actually good. It will create the transition in between these areas, which is actually going to be pretty cool. It will create pretty vivid separation in these areas. Cool, cool, cool. I think it's safe to make this one the same. Again, I don't want them to be super different. They have different value, but I think we could make them the same color, because they are the part of the wall, and it would be not a good thing to actually create a different color for it. Too much contrasts, which will distract the attention. And these things are here not for distracting attention, this is just right here for creating an interesting design elements that could work with the parts of the transformers. This is probably the question of the textures. Oh snap, I actually think that I know what I'm going to do. What if I go into the sketch, create a new layer, go there. I actually got distracted. I kind of forgot what I wanted to do at the beginning. Yeah, actually we need to paint swords too, but before that let's just try one thing. What if I actually create things in here? Make this a little bit more divided than they already are. Basically create separations for these walls. So for now they're just lines, but I actually could create the separations close to this. It could actually work awesome. It's like it would separate these things by areas. But I would do this only for these diagonals. I don't think that we need to do this for these diagonals. This one is just going to be texture, I think. But these could be actual lines. Where's the separation in here? Again, the more details I'm going to have, the more sense it's going to make. For now, I'm just like adding something that I feel would be pretty interesting to depict. I'm going to showcase these separations, that way I could even make these things apparent in here, which again, good usage of repetitive design. course, we need to make them properly with the perspective. Of course, it needs to be super distorted. I think we will work on this in perspective and final perspective to make this the proper way. Okay, got distracted. What I wanted, what I did. Let's just not get lazy and do this. It's going to be beneficial if I'm going to do that. It means that I'm not going to repeat this thing. Why is nothing is happening? Please tell me. Nothing is paid. Oh, because I'm erasing. And turn on the assistant. Just want to make sure that I'm going to properly place these things in here. Of course, we're not going to see anything from there. And of course, we're not going to see anything on the top. Out of reach. Just use soft eraser to erase lines that we're not going to use. So yeah, these circles are going to be here. So yeah, they're actually going to be pretty distorted. I would say super distorted. I'm going to try to make it by eye. Let's hope it's going to look relatively good. Yeah, not a best one, but works. either I'm just going to create something. Oh, maybe I need to think about creating a hole in there, like just putting it, painting it with a particular value. By the way, let's try to do it though. So these are values. Yeah, unfortunately I already painted the walls. Where are the walls? Yeah, let's choose this one. I just want to try one cool thing. I want to try to make this one as a whole. Actually could create pretty interesting things. But again, I will explore it in the final design, because this is something that could be a pretty good addition to our composition, or the opposite, it could ruin everything, so we need to be careful with this. So I'm not going to do anything now. The only thing that I will do is just put them there. We have about 8 minutes. Kind of almost done. Again, I think we will start to work with materials next in the next session. Don't think that I want to go through materials in this session. Again, progress seems slow, but at least there is a progress. It's better than not doing anything. As they say, it's better to do something than nothing. Doo-doo. Again, not a perfect one, but I'm trying to fit this one in perspective for this circle to look good. Kind of works. I think we still need to create a little bit different value for it, similar to what we have here. So this is something to do actually. So let's just go into the, again, black and whites. Turned, not the walls. We actually need to turn off these. I actually know what value they are. No, not lines. Oh no, actually lines. Let's just pick up this color 20. Back lines. And just simply choose our color thing and create a value here. No, it actually going to be the same. Because I want to create some type of alien elements in here, and this is the good way to create alien elements in the walls. I don't want them just be regular walls. I want for them to be different. And by placing this thing is definitely, it definitely will make them different. For instance, where are these statues? That's what I talked about at the beginning. We're working on design constantly. We're never stop working on it. And every stage that we have creates more opportunities to for design to be implemented. The only thing we need to do is just control it and not overdo it. We need to maintain a good balance between, not balance, but we need to be careful to not go from variety to chaos. It's pretty easy to lose control of variety and turn it into chaos. A little bit different value, but still. Actually, it needs to go in here, from here to here. Yep. And of course we need to erase these lines to make it work. Fortunately, I'm not probably going to do that, because these lines are, I don't know even on what layer they are. Probably, yes, actually in here. So we're just going to erase these lines. Back to our layer, choose a color. Turn on the assistant. I don't know if it's the right way to showcase them, but we need to figure out what perspective is going to be used for them. Yeah, this one. Yep. It's pivot point. It actually creates a need to make this thing darker, but again, it's the prerogative of the creating shadows. For now, I'm just working with local colors, and this thing from the outside and from the inside has the same local value, of course, and color. Of course, when we're going to put this in lighting conditions, this thing will become darker. Huh, maybe we actually, yeah, definitely darker. So darker values. By putting darker values there, and let's just do the same thing with here and slowly finish the session. Probably it's going to be like 45-minute session. Let's just extend it right away. Or 45 minutes instead of 1:30, 1:45. Yeah, let's just create the same here. And the cool thing is though, like the fact that I'm actually working with limited pixels, it actually allows me to not stress about details too much. Looks fine. And of course we need to get rid of these lines. Nope. Yes, this. I'm not going to erase them completely. I want to keep the lines of height in here. I want them to be present. But the rest, of course, is going to be erased. And the same for this one. Turned on the assistant and I'm erasing again. By the way, let's just create things in here too. Just make them less visible. They are too bright. Just like a construction lines, and put the same in here. Whoa. Well. And again, make them less visible by slightly erasing them. Good. So the same type of decorative elements are going to be present in here and of course in here. But since we don't have enough details to actually showcase it there, I'm just going to assume that something similar happening there. That actually means that we need to erase this dark thing in the center. So just go in to our coolers. Find our values. Oh, I guess it's not in loose sketch. It's probably in color. Yes. Let's just make sure that it's going to be the same value. When I created those, I knew that from the standpoint of decoration it would work because it will showcase that this is actually an alien planet. But from but I didn't add a clear vision what it's going to be exactly. And I guess you need to go through a particular stages to actually figure out what it's going to be. The closer you go the closer you to the end, the more clear things start to become. Okay, so yeah, I kind of like how things look. We added a couple of interesting elements here and there. By the way, let's just get rid of these texts. They're kind of distracting a bit. Now get rid of all of our lines. Now we actually seeing somewhat a clear result. Good. And the last thing that we need to do is to create color for the swords. Again, talking about swords, they definitely need to be a much cooler color, and needs to be pretty close to what we have here. Probably something even more greenish, not green, but something closer to this. Let's try. Let's use TC border for it as layer. It's probably too bright. Actually, let's use the same value as the same color that we used here. Not very appropriate color for the sword though, but at least it's warm. Which we need the opposite actually. It needs to maintain coolness, but at the same time become a violet sword. Is this real? For the most part, swords are not going to have color, because if I'm going to actually make them the new swords without like corrosion on them and etc., I think they are going to keep the colors from the surroundings, because again, they are reflective material. That's where we actually need to think about reflectiveness, but still I think they still need to have some type of an earth tone to them. Try to use dirty earth tone. Actually pretty good contrast. Green statue with the brown swords. By the way, again, both are earth tones, and they usually create like natural contrast to them. I think we need to make it less obvious. Yes. Less color. Again, all these tones, they need to be barely visible. We don't need to attract too much attention. The thing, by the way, that will attract attention to swords is definitely going to be the reflected lights. So the light that this reflective material is going to showcase, this definitely will create those. Okay, good. So far so good. I think on this note we will just slowly going to finish, because like 1:45 as I planned it to be, there's no point to actually go into materials 15 minutes. I will rather spend more time next session to actually work with them. Again, one one of the ways to make sure that you're like if your work looks right or not is to mirror things. So mirroring is one of the important things that you need to do while creating your work. If you're not mirroring enough, you will more likely will create bad poses and unnatural looking things and etc. So mirroring is the key for the most part. It's not just like some type of a thing that you may choose to do or not. Do it every time, because it will definitely benefit your work. It's just like the psychology of the human being works. We need to change point of view in order to see mistakes. It works not only with art and with life too. If you have trouble with something and you don't know how to solve this problem and you tried almost everything and it still doesn't work, change your point of view. It's crucial. Look at this from different angle. The same goes from this mirroring. When you're mirroring, you see things from the different angle, and mistakes start to arise. You start to see things that don't work. For instance, like these are not in one line. Probably we would raise this thing a little bit higher. Same goes for his eyes and beak. Probably this eye could be a little bit higher, or this one a little bit lower. The same goes for his eyes. They're completely bad. One eye needs to be either higher or lower, again, to make things work. But right here they kind of look, well, okay, they look normal, nothing bad about them. But when we actually mirror them, mistakes start to appear. This is one of the reasons why you probably should do this pretty often. And of course, the more experienced you become, the less you need this mirroring. But at the beginning, mirroring is your best friend. Okay. Yeah, I guess on that note we'll just slowly end the session, because for the most part I actually painted everything that I wanted. We actually created colors for every part and every subject in our scene. Yes, so everything actually has its own color. The rest is going to be everything is going to look different, as I said before, when we're going to put lighting. But next, I think we need to think about materials. What materials are going to consist of floor? So what? Yeah, my brain is dead. Floor materials. These things. What type of thing they need to be? Walls, ceiling, swords, the transformers itself. We're going to dive into material properties, such as Lambertian and reflective, transparent, and all these and all their variations. We're trying to figure out what type of like feathers, what type of materials beaks are made from, because they are a combination of materials. They had a little bit translucency to them. There's a lot of things going on with the beaks. Hairs, or not necessarily hairs, but feathers, they're going to look specific way. So yeah, metals in here, they're going to look different way. Probably, for instance, Quintessa, she has pretty interesting material to her. She is not simply has a metal that reflects everything. She actually has much more changes to this material. We definitely need to dive into this. So basically, next session we're going to work with the hardest probably thing, the hardest topic of creating your work is the materials. But materials will definitely make our final product even better. Materials, it's usually the thing that will create a bridge to much more realistic look. And usually materials that are actually something that helps us to define or know what the specific object or subject is. So for instance, if you are going to see, so for instance, right now we don't have materials in these oranges, apples and lemons. The only way how you can understand and differentiate that this is a lemon, this is an orange, and this is a apple by color. But if I'm going to get rid of the color, now you don't even have a clue what these are. It could be just balls sitting on the plate, like you don't know what it is. And by adding information with the texture, it will definitely tell us that this is a lemon, this is an orange, and this is an apple, by adding a texture. So usually texture is something that will help us to actually understand with what type of object or subject we're actually working with. If its shape is too general and unclear, such as the round shape of the fruits. Of course, if we had right here a different type of fruit, for instance, like a let's find a way. How does fruit actually? Yeah, pear. Pear? Pear. Okay, if we had, for instance, pear, we would probably knew that silhouette of the pear is actually a little bit different from the silhouette of an apple. So differentiations could be created by different things, but the materials are usually what brings the level of forgot the word. Yeah, this is something that will help us to recognize these subjects as particular subjects. Basically, materials are crucial because they are the roadmap to recognize, recognizability, if you can say this. Recognizability, yeah. Thank you, Google Translate. So, this is the key to recognizability, and this is something that materials are just basically doing. They're not just here to create realism or make things look good and cool. They're here to actually portray recognizability. Without it, we couldn't recognize particular objects from themselves because they would be flat. That's why we need to think about materials even more than about values and different things. So yeah, next session is definitely going to be the material session, when we're actually going to, again, in terms of the colors, I think I actually finished. So for the most part, I like local colors, how they look. We still could experiment a little bit, but for the most part, I kind of like how it looks. Let's just try to do this and see this from far. Yeah, actually like how it looks. Again, the things that I don't like how it looks now, I will change by working with lights. So when we're actually going to create a casting shadows and shadow areas and occlusion areas, everything is going to change, and reflection areas, so everything will look a little bit differently. But still, overall, as long as value are working, it's pretty hard to mess up the colors. You can, of course, if you don't have any clue how to work with colors. The only thing that you need, I guess, to keep in mind when you're working with colors is to understand your mood, because usually color is controlled by the mood. and color changes are controlled by the mood, and color choices are controlled by the mood of the piece. The second thing probably that definitely helps to understand how to work with color is, again, the design things which work with the contrast. We need to create proper contrast in between elements. We need to create a specific differentiation in between these colors. These colors need to depict clear main focus, secondary focus, and tertiary focus, again by controlling their intensity in saturation, because again the more saturated colors usually present in the areas of focus, and less saturated colors, or so-called muted colors, are usually present in the background. But it all depends what your subject is and what your focus is. So yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about color. We will definitely talk about color more and more and more, and how it relates to materials, because after we actually work with materials, light will work differently depending on with what materials we are working with. So there's a lot of things. But still, yeah, let's just finish the session. Yeah, on that note, we'll definitely end the session. That was pretty short session, but I hope I covered a lot of things through it. So yeah, thank you for watching, thank you for being here, have a nice day or night, and see you in the next one, the next session, the next creative session. Bye bye.